Okay, good morning, everybody. So, in today's class, we're about to take a look at Tynker.com's lesson 4, which is going to be kind of like a Mario Brothers game, which is technically called a platformer game, where you have a character that is typically running left and right along platforms, and a big part of a Mario Brothers style platformer game is the ability to jump. And the ability to jump is a little bit different from just simply moving left and right. We'll cover both of those in today's lesson, but one thing that is really, really, really important about learning to move your characters left, right, and of course jumping, going up and down, is an understanding of something that you guys may have heard in math a little bit before, and that's the coordinate grid. So very quickly, I'll show you a couple of the blocks that you guys will be using for this lesson. So here we've got an on-start block, which you've used before. We're going to use a starter block that's when a key is pressed. And in this case, you're able to change whether it's right, left, up, down, any key across your keyboard. It could be the letters as well. We'll be using a couple different loops, whether it's repeat forever or if a certain thing is happening. For instance, if a key is pressed. And of course, these are our blocks that we'll use to move our characters up and down with the y-axis, left and right with the x-axis, and there are certain things we'll have to change about it to get it to move left, right, up, and down. And of course, a weight in here makes it so the jump or the movement left and right doesn't happen like lightning, in a split second. It's actually able to be viewed, and it's not happening so quick that you can't even see it. So in this case, we're going to take a very quick look at, again, the coordinate grid. So here we have our coordinate grid. In this case, with the coordinate grid, we've got the y-axis up here. And the entire up and down portion here is the y-axis, anything moving along this line, up and down. This over here would be the x-axis, this line. So anything moving along this line right here is the x-axis. And of course, the very center of these 2 points is technically called the origin. But also, if you were to think about both of these as being a number line, this is technically kind of like the number 0. It's the origin. It's where we start. So if we are on the x-axis moving along this line, and this is 0, anything to the right of 0 is typically going to be a positive number. Anything above 0. Anything to the left of 0 is typically below, and it's going to be negative. So remember, this is the x-axis. We're kind of following right along this left-right plane right here. Now, if we were to think about the y-axis and we would like to move up and down, now anything above 0 is going to be have to be a number that's positive. Anything below 0 is going to be a number that's negative. So if we're using the y-axis and we make that number in the y-axis positive, our character is going to go up. If we use the y-axis and we make the number negative, it's going to go down. If we're using the x-axis and we'd like our character to go left, we better add a negative number in there. And if we're using the x-axis and you want your character to go right, it better be a positive number. So in this case, what I'm going to do is walk you through very quickly how to make your character move right and how to make your character jump. So in this case here, what we're going to do, we'll say when I press the right arrow, So we'll get our character to move right. Now remember, left and right is along the x-axis. So I'm going to say when I press the right arrow, we are going to change x by 10. Now if I wanted my character to go left instead of right, and you could of course have both of those, left and right, now I'm going to change my right here to a left, and I'm going to make this 10 a negative 10 because that will be below 0. That'll go left. So that's my left and right movement. Now over here, I'm going to create a block or a line of code that gets my character to jump. So in this case here, I'm going to say on start, anytime, so forever, anytime we hit, we'll say the space bar for instance. You could use enter, you can use any key across your keyboard, the up key if you want to use that for jump, it's up to you. But in this case, I'll say when I hit space, I'd like my character to jump. So in this case here, to get my character to jump, I want my character to, and we're going to pretend, I know these blocks here are kind of closed off here and they won't expand larger as I put things in there. But all of these things that I've got here are going to go inside of the other one. So in this case here, I'm going to repeatedly change my Y. Okay, so I'm going to repeatedly go up 10 pixels with a little bit of weight. And then I am going to repeatedly, now this is also going inside the forever loop. So this is going to go inside my forever loop, but kind of outside of my other repeat. So I'm going to repeatedly go down. So in this case here, I would have to have a negative 10 with a weight. And I know it's a little bit tricky to see, but of course this number right here is going to have to be negative because that brings us down. And all of this stuff, so this right here will be together inside of that repeat, and it's going to go inside of our forever loop here, and this right here is going to be in its own separate clamp or repeat, and that will also be inside of our forever loop but below the other one. So I hope this helps out. Now, really, this lesson, the most important thing that you can understand here is that coordinate grid. So when you're playing around with the x-axis, that's going to bring you left and right. When you're messing around with the y-axis, that's going to bring you up and down. And those negative symbols really matter. The negatives and positives will bring you in different directions from one another. So if you ignore those, you may find that you're trying to go left, but your character goes the opposite direction because you haven't added in your negative symbol. Or you may find that you're trying to go left, but your character is actually going up or down. It's because you use the y-axis instead of the x. So we'll play around with that coordinate grid and some of those blocks a little bit in this lesson. And feel free to go back to any of these bits of the lesson that may help to rewind, fast forward, check out again, and of course the tutorials in Tynker.com. Have a great coding session today and the next few days, guys, and I'll speak to you soon.